Go. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Just Be. I am John Emilio with my friend.
Yeah, this friendly voice here is Henry Beltra.
Henry Beltra. Okay, so as we start off all our episodes, let's start with a nice 1-minute guided meditation just to get us into that right frame of mind. In case you were just running in from out the door, listening in between your lunch, this little whatever, wherever you are, kind of help center you. So let's start with a few deep conscious breaths. Again, watch that posture if you can. Focus on either the breath, or if you're doing the soft gaze, or if you're doing a body scan, focus on different parts of the body. Remember, no matter which one you're doing, the mind's going to try to sneak in and pull you away, because that's what it's kind of geared to do. So you just refocus. As you listen to me talk, keep refocusing on whatever that is, whether it's breath, like I said, or body scan, or soft gaze. Keep that focus there, and you're going to start to slowly notice this essence behind that. This kind of nothing. It's a isness. It's a very quiet, no name, no face watcher that's seeing you do this. That's that sweet spot. That's awareness. So you'll start to see it. A couple of more. Okay. And we are back for another lovely episode where we're going to get deep into your mind. No, I'm joking.
Yes. Rework everything. Make everything perfect.
You will believe everything. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Life will be perfect.
Yes.
When you finish this podcast, if there's one thing I can guarantee you, the grass is greener, the sky is bluer. And let me tell you something. If you look in your bank account, there's going to be a few extra bucks there.
Yes, that's not what it's about, right?
Oh, man.
No.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that was true, but unfortunately, that's not the way it goes.
But the lottery numbers come to you.
Yes, they do.
All right, good.
But unfortunately, I guess I don't write them down because I'm yet to win. I hear them in the shower all the time, but I got to get one of those grease pens where I can write them on the glass.
Yeah.
I never remember them when I come out.
Yeah.
Okay, so in between episodes, as we usually do, have another episode.
Yeah, right. We have an episode within the episode.
Within the episodes. Me and Henry were yapping, and we spoke a little bit about this in the previous episode, about language, and we were talking about the words we use. He brought up a comparison with Scott Adams, not a podcaster, I think, that he listens to.
Yeah, the creative Dilbert.
Yes. Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Creative Dilbert. Okay. And how he was kind of speaking about reframing. So with us, what we're speaking about with language, and so we touched on it in our previous episode when Henry was saying fight against it instead of acceptance and surrender. The words we use have been taught to us by our teachers, our parents, our social environment, and the meanings attached to these words were also given to us. So we gave the example of good and bad. When we were between episodes, we were talking about it. If I go to a restaurant and I have a plate of pasta, well, I'm going to think it's good. Henry has the same plate of pasta. He thinks it's bad. So who's right? Who's wrong? Well, we're both right, and we're both wrong. We're both right because he does think it's bad. I did believe it was good. But we're both wrong because both are opinions. The only true fact in that whole statement is that is a plate of pasta. That's the fact. The word good and bad is an opinion. You want to say moral or immoral, then that's maybe a little bit more concrete. But good and bad, we use those words, happy and sad, good and bad, must, should, have to. All these words, we use them so much that we don't realize how they point us in a direction and actually frame us to act a certain way or to believe things a certain way, instead of realizing that they're just words. And you could apply any meaning to that word, honestly, if you wanted to. Words were created by human beings. We applied meaning to every word we have. Who's to say the sky is blue? That color should have been black, right? To us, black is
correct.
Black, blue is blue. So when you deal with issues like anxiety or any kind of mental health, if you're a person who's struggling, language, I think, and even if you're not struggling, language carries a great weight. So like we said with good and bad before, these are two words that there's no concrete meaning to either of them. There's such opinions, but
and yet they're ingrained.
but yet they're ingrained, and so if I had you have a thought, and it's a bad, I'm doing air quotes,
Yeah.
bad thought. Now your mind is applied to this thought already. This is bad. We have to warn Henry. Well, I have a good thought. Okay, well we're not going to worry about a good thought because a good thought's a good thought, right? Well, maybe it's a good thought. Maybe it's not a good thought. The only thing that's actually true is it is a thought.
Yeah.
Is that thought helpful? That would be the next. Instead of it's good or bad, is it a helpful thought? No. Well, then you try to allow it to be there and keep moving on. But when we apply these words, good, bad, like you must do this.
Yeah, and that stemmed from my recounting my story of my
Yes.
episode.
Correct.
When I was saying to you that there I was fighting, and that's exactly what you should try not to do because you kind of fall into
A trap.
actually the wrong pattern. As I was saying in my previous episode was, if the water bottle is that intrusive thought. Okay, so the water bottle's in front of me. I was trying to slap the water bottle away from here, but what you're saying is, no. Don't fight. Don't even use the word fight because you're not fighting.
You're not in a fight with anything. What do you? Unless you're in a physical altercation, you're not fighting with
The
it.
intrusive thought, aka the water bottle, it's right there. And learn to be with that intrusive thought, aka the water bottle.
Allow it to be there.
Allow
Accept
it
that
to
it's
be
there.
there.
Yeah.
Great, and that's exactly what what I'm working on. Actually, I have to start. I use the word have.
Well,
I'm autocritical.
No, you're autocritical. So I mean, listen, when we say
I'm autocritical.
you can't. It's hard to delete words from our language because
No,
we won't be able to communicate. But it's how you frame the word.
No, but more.
So if you say I have,
More importantly than that is, I'm using the word, and I caught myself using the word, which means
Beautiful.
I'm being
conscious about.
I'm being
it.
conscious. So
Absolutely.
therefore, my journey, I predict, will be easier, more successful, more attainable, more productive than anybody who's not consciously trying to fix the vocabulary. And when I say fix the vocabulary, you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
I'm just
absolutely.
trying to
Be
alter
conscious, yeah.
alter my words so that I have a positive and beneficial result for myself.
For yourself, yeah, and you're not putting yourself in a position where this is how you must think now,
Correct.
right? So, like you said, have. It's hard to delete those words completely
Yeah, yeah.
because the way we.
But we have words.
But we have words for a reason, right? But it's so how you use that word.
Yeah.
I have to get rid of this anxiety. Whoa, I have to do this. I have to go here. I have to do this. And I was telling you in between shows, like I taught my kids when they were younger. I said, you don't have to do anything. There's no must, should, or have to in life. It's all choices. You get to choose if you want to do that. Like when I was a kid, I was told you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. So for me, that word was concrete. It became so whenever I would say that word, like there was no other option. It was I have to insert the blank. I have to do it. At that point, it didn't matter what it was.
Cement.
I had to do it.
It was cement.
It was
That's it.
cement. So I introduced flexibility to my children. Say, you don't have to do anything. I would tell my daughter, joking around sometimes, I go, you don't want to go to school tomorrow? I go, you don't have to go to school tomorrow. She goes, oh, I don't have to. I go, no, you don't have to go to school tomorrow. I said, but your choices carry consequences. Remember that. So you get to choose, but your choices carry consequences, right? So you could choose to not go to school, or you could choose to go to school.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, she chose to go to school, but and that's maybe an extreme example, like giving a kid an option not to go to school, but I tried to make a point. I was trying to make a point to her, be like, there's nothing in life that you have to do. If anybody tells you you have to do, even if, listen, in the most extreme of examples, somebody's robbing you with a gun to your head, give me your money or I'm going to kill you. You don't have to give them your money. You actually have a choice in that second. I don't have to give it to you. I could say no
Yeah.
and see what happens. I'm not saying like people
Right.
should do that, but even in that most, there's always a point. There's always a choice.
That was an extreme
behind it.
example, but it's exactly what you're trying to.
Sometimes it's got to be polarizing for people to kind of understand the point.
That basically what you've been trying to communicate continuously is suffering is a choice.
Absolutely.
So therefore, if you are able to, somewhat practice awareness, practice the things we're talking about here, you don't have to do anything, including suffer. You don't have to do anything, including suffer.
No, you don't have to suffer. Suffer, and I would always say suffering is a choice, which is very, it's not a popular.
It makes you, it tickles your ass for a reason,
Yes.
so that you can make a change.
You can make a change. Suffering is a choice. All these things are choices, but a lot of them stem from the words that we use on a daily basis. How they kind of just corner you into acting. You have to, now this is the identity you've taken. You have to do this.
No, I think
You must be like this.
I think those three words are fantastic. Suffering is a choice, because we're constantly talking about the person who's willing,
Yeah.
and that's great, right? If you're willing, that's fantastic. But how many people are willing, but they still stay stuck in that rut? They're willing, but they won't make a next move. They won't practice anything.
Yeah, but then are they really willing?
Correct. That's a good one.
No. Are they truly willing to?
Yeah.
Is there a willingness to really make a change?
Good.
Yeah, I mean, willingness to make a change means doing the uncomfortable.
Good.
Doing the uncomfortable, dealing with the uncomfortable, facing the uncomfortable. That's where change happens. Whether it's physical workout, you're kind of reframing your way you think, or you're dealing with mindfulness and awareness. There's uncomfortable phases you go through in all those different things. So I mean, that's just part of it.
Yeah, and suffering is a choice.
And suffering is a choice.
Suffering is
Suffering is a choice. That's why I try to kind of watch what I say and how I say it. In the beginning, it was kind of odd. I almost felt like I couldn't speak properly anymore, because I was trying to, and this was just, I think, me going to one extreme too much. I was trying to remove words from my language completely, but then I started realizing, hold on, it's not removing the word, it's how I'm framing that word and what I'm saying.
You were using it to your benefit.
To my benefit.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want to improve your situation, because who wants to suffer? Like, you really got to want it. I mean, and that's the question I have.
Nobody wants to suffer.
But that's the question I have for you, honestly, because again, you've been around, you're more studied, and not to mention, I mean, like I said, my last therapy
It
session
makes
was,
me sound like I'm like,
well,
I'm really not.
to me, you are that.
Maybe.
To me, you are. I appreciate you like that. Of course, I appreciate you because
Yeah, I got it.
you're my
I
brother
got it,
from
I
another
got
mother. But what does that say about a person that they enjoy the suffering?
No, they just don't realize that they have a choice not to suffer.
Well, what if a person absolutely knows, and yet,
they know that they're suffering?
yeah, like they know they have a choice, they have an option in the matter. So it's not like you don't have an option in the matter. You have an option. Suffering is a choice, because you can totally employ some beautiful techniques, and that will help you.
Sure, dealing with it. Yeah, to navigate it.
And just your daily practice, as you said, when you're meditating, you're practicing that space. And it's that space that you need, so that when these things arise, you have a flexed, trained muscle.
Yeah.
So that person knows, hey, I don't like suffering. So therefore, my next logical step is, let me practice these things. No. Yeah, no. I will continue to suffer.
I'm miserable.
I will continue.
I'm happily miserable. Leave me
Yeah,
alone.
that's what it is.
I'm happily miserable. Leave me alone. And all that is
My
just
mother.
that's just a thing. Yeah, I mean,
my mother.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these old school parents were like that. They don't want to see. They don't want to see what life outside of the thinking mind is like, because it's a very odd place to be. When you tell somebody I'm not my mind, or when you tell somebody, or you're trying to explain to somebody how awareness works, you have this essence behind the thought. Everybody tries to create a label to, okay, so what does this essence feel like? And the best answer any spiritual teacher could give you is nothing. It's nothing. There's nothing there. And in that nothing, everything's there. And that nothing is where life is. It's,
That's crazy.
yeah, no, it's one of those things that you can't give it, like consciousness and awareness cannot be truly described because it doesn't have a voice. It doesn't have, we give it a name and awareness. It doesn't have a voice. It doesn't have an identity. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have anything. It just sees all, and that's it. It sees. It allows you to see, which then allows your thinking mind, right, to clearly make a decision instead of just following itself haphazardly. It's like running in the dark, or now we're going to put the lights on and you're going to see where you're going, right? So somebody who's unconscious is just running around hoping they find the door someday. Where somebody who practices mindfulness, I believe, is somebody who has turned the lights on and now can navigate their way through and see the obstacle in front of them and sidestep it, stop, allow the obstacle to pass, walk around the obstacle, not push it out of the way, not break it. But if you can't see where you're going, you're going to trip on every obstacle, you're going to run into every obstacle, you're going to stub your toe on every obstacle. So I'm trying to put something that has no words into words, and it's a little hard sometimes.
But that's a good analogy you did.
Yeah, when I'm dealing with something that I don't want to be dealing with, it could be whether it's a work issue or a family issue or whatever that comes up, health or this or that. I've gotten to the point where I now could kind of anchor into that place, and I know in that place it's like that's where I've always been and I'm always going to be. Like what I am here in my daily form, right, in this human being, is how I experience things. But behind that, it's a place where there is no feeling of, happiness or like there's no euphoric, there's no like bells and whistles, and it's just, it is. And you just kind of know everything's okay in there and everything's okay. It doesn't matter what's happening on the outside because that's something you're just dealing with. But there's like this essence is safeguarded and it's
peaceful.
It's peaceful, yeah.
As opposed to happy.
Even in the middle of a storm, you're still peaceful.
Yeah, so we're not looking for sugar. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for happy. We're not looking for sad.
No.
We're not looking for any of these.
No. Initially, what the mind will do, and this is actually kind of funny that you said sugar. So initially, what the mind will do, when I first kind of got into this and I was really enjoying it and things were great, in the beginning, I was like, wow, this is great. Like my mind came in, took awareness, and like said, hey, John, this is effing awesome. I love this shit. This is great. It makes me feel good.
My God.
But wait, what happens? After a few months of doing that, slowly, that feeling slowly diminishes off because now the mind started acclimating to this new thing that John discovered. The mind started saying, yeah, right, I could see, like he sees a stink. Yay, whoopee, like it became that. So now that feeling kind of went away. Now I started to be left with nothing. Like this nothing, that's where I really started to anchor into it. When all those bells and whistles started disappearing like that, I was able to like disconnect from a thought right away. I would have this thought, I'd feel the anxiety, and I was able to like, wow, instantly push, but like just pull back from it and watch it. And I could almost feel like I was pulling back from it and just, it would float away. After a while, that feeling went away and I just started automatically, it would happen, I would do it, but there was no euphoric feeling or anything around it, and I was left with nothing. And in the beginning, that was very odd. I'd sit around kind of saying, there's nothing, but it wasn't sad, it wasn't like depressed, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it was, and then slowly that was started being like, this is
Yes.
wow, like, okay, so this is it, like this is that piece that I've heard about, this is that no matter what's happening, I could just kind of pull back and anchor in this piece that's behind this thought, this wherever it goes, wherever it comes from, I don't know.
There's no weather here. It's not
No.
sunny, it's not raining.
No, and I know that sounds foo-foo a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's kind of where you get to eventually if you keep practicing and make this and you make it a lifestyle. You have to, it's got to be a lifestyle.
That's the kicker. And I'll be honest with you, I'm being, as they say, 100% real. I get caught up, man. I get caught up in, and I'm sure this must have happened to you. Matter of fact, this probably happens to you daily, but I get caught up in conversations. So, you know, as you know, so I'm a political beast. Okay, I love politics. I don't know if I'm the perfect candidate or I'm the wrong candidate, but if you start talking to me about politics, I can go, and I can awarely tell you, I know this is wrong. I know this is not going to end well, but I so love the Viking journey. I get on my boat and I said, attack! You know, and I'm like, oh my god! And as I'm going through it, bro, I could tell you, you know, like this is counterproductive to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right? It's
A little bit. I mean, if you're having a conversation with somebody about politics, whatever the topic might be, that's great. That's fine. I mean, it's absolutely.
I can't do it.
But you say you can't?
Well, yes. I'm not.
I don't think you can. I think you just choose not to.
I choose not to. I
because
chose absolutely.
Because when you're in that conversation and there's that, you know, that umph or the juice that you get from
yeah.
right? That addictive juice gets you, grabs you, right? And that's what we've talked about before. That's not the ego in a bad way, but that's the egoic mind. That's the mind saying, yeah, Henry, let's tell them what we think.
Yeah.
Let's tell them why they're wrong and we're right. And you're not doing it maliciously.
No.
It's just, and you get caught up in it.
Bro, I'm honest.
But the problem with
You're
that,
right.
the problem with that is, if you're not careful, that starts spilling over because just because the political conversation ends, that little trigger of that egoic mind wanting to engage in those conversations or have that I need to be right or let's tell them what we think doesn't dwindle down. You're feeding, for me, when you do that, you feed the wrong wolf. So I can have a conversation with anybody about anything.
Gotcha.
I'm not a big political person, but if you wanted to talk politics to whatever knowledge I
Sure,
have,
yeah.
I could have a conversation. But during that conversation, you won't hear me say, well, my side or our side, or
Yeah.
this is how they should do things, or this is how, I'll say, well, yeah, the topic we're discussing, yes, that is a shame that we're doing that. It'd be nice to find a resolution, to actually find a way to make both of these things happen. But when then sides get involved and the middle gets blown apart. See, when I have a conversation with somebody, I always find the middle ground. And I'm like, all right, I hear you, let's get here. 99% of conversations that people want to have, screw you, I don't want to be here, I want to be here, I want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's hard to really continue
But
those.
more importantly, I think as a practice, I have to, here we go.
But it's okay.
I have to.
You have to use the word, unfortunately.
But
Go ahead, let's continue.
and make a choice
Yep.
as to whether or not to engage, or maybe it's better that I don't engage, because what this is going to do for me is just set me on the wrong path.
Well, then if you have that conscious awareness,
I do. Let me tell you.
so then don't engage.
Let me tell you. It's just very difficult. Let me tell you. So,
But I love that stuff
yeah,
so much.
yeah, man. And look, as it's happening,
Cookie.
as it's happening, you called me in Hulk the other a few minutes ago. The cameras,
The Hulk mode.
the radio, this thing was off, and he could Hulk. But it's that. It's like the little bit. I start turning green, and my pants start like disappearing, and
I got it.
And it's that. And like, all of a sudden, it's like I must engage. No, I think that I have to prioritize. What's my goal? What's my bigger goal? What's my biggest goal? My biggest goal is that while I'm on this earth, and learn how to enjoy it every day, every moment while I'm here, because like you said, this is a flash. We're a flash.
We're just a blip on the ass of the universe. That's all we are.
I'm not doing myself any favors
No.
if I engage in that kind of conversation. Now, if once in a while I want to test the demon, go ahead and test the demon. But if you find yourself going down the road, it's not productive. So
No, so what are you going to gain out of it? So I mean, not to get stuck on the whole politics thing, but is it a conversation or is it an argument? Because there's a very fine line between it.
Very
like,
fine.
It's like
Very fine line.
there's a fine line between a lot of
Yeah.
things like that in life.
Yeah.
Is it like we said, happiness and joy? It's a fine line between
Fine
both.
line.
But while it's a fine line, it's two different worlds completely.
Yeah.
So, is it a conversation or are we having an argument?
Yeah, I love to converse about it, but
Usually ends up in
99.9
it ends up in some
yeah.
sort of an argument where it's personally, and this isn't me. I'm not trying to judge. If people love having heated conversations about it, I guess knock yourselves out. Anybody can do whatever they want. It's their choice. What I always say, this discussion that you're having, what is your ultimate? What's the end game for you?
Yeah.
To be right? Okay, well, to be
That-
right, that's great. That you've solved jack shit, by the way, but you're right.
I think
Congratulations.
Right? I think in the back of my mind, that's what I want. I want the other person to know that I am right. By the way,
That's the goal.
it's me saying that the pasta was bad and you saying that the pasta was good, right?
But you need to be right.
I insist.
So when you have that feeling of I need to be right, who's actually navigating your ship? Who's driving your car at that moment?
Oh yeah, Mr. Ego. Yeah, 100%.
That's all you need to know.
100%.
That's it. So once you know that,
Not only do I know it, I allow it to happen. I allow it to happen.
okay, well then
So-
you're choosing to do that.
But,
That's fine. I mean,
but I think this is part of being aware and conscious of, hey, you made the decision. So just know you made the decision.
so when you're choosing to follow the ego and get that, that's just the ego again, isn't it?
So
It takes many forms. The egoic mind will take many forms
it's
until it as long as it can kind of keep guiding you in the way it feels like it should, because it thinks Henry needs to be right. No, guys, it's very important that Henry's right. Don't you
Yeah.
understand? We have to make Henry right at all costs because Henry likes to be right.
Right.
I'm not saying Henry likes to be right, but Henry likes to be right. We
Right,
have to
right,
make
right.
Henry right. We have to make John right. Let's make it about John. John needs to be right because he tells people that if they don't do mindfulness and if they don't meditate, they're idiots. John's got to be right. If that's what you're doing, that's just the ego coming back in and saying, well,
Yeah.
John's saying that it has to be this way. And at that point, I'm not a conscious person. There's no conscious behavior there. To say, oh yeah, to say, I'm aware, but I'm going to follow anyway. It's well, I know if I jump off that bridge, I'll die. Screw it, let's go anyway. And you jump anyway. So it's, are you really full? If you're fully aware, you're going to realize that the action you're about to take and
Yeah.
the consequences it's going to have. And if it's something that you don't want to be involved in, like if you know deep down, like, okay, I don't value arguing about this stuff. I don't want to get
Yeah.
into, I like talking about it. Like, I enjoy
I do,
conversations.
but when could you ever talk about politics? You never talk. It always ends up.
The only reason you can't talk about it is because most people just want to argue about it.
Yeah,
People want to
because-
argue and complain all the time.
Because we're attached to a feeling, to an ideal, to a party.
Because
to-
silence is awkward and people hate it. So they would rather have a conversation and complain and bitch and moan than sit in silence if there's nothing urgent to speak about. And look, that would make for a very, watch air quotes, very boring world, I guess, in the mind's eyes. But what's the alternative? People screaming and yelling.
I like where you're
constantly?
going with this silence thing.
So, look,
I'm going
silence.
to use this with my wife.
Erica, if you're listening to this, I'm not, that wasn't the point I was trying to make.
That's what I heard.
He said, be quiet. No, but yes, look, for me, silence is,
Yeah, you're right.
whenever I'm in a heated conversation where I feel the other person needs to be right, I turn to, not a screw you silence, like I'm going to ignore you, a sense of, I have nothing to add to this. I will listen to you. I'll digest what you're saying. When you burn off whatever you burn off, you're going to come down on your own. And that keeps me from engaging that and energizing the wrong wolf in me, right? I see there's always the two wolves you can feed. Which wolf do you want to feed, right?
Yeah, man, and you
Everybody
mentioned
has these two wolves.
And you mentioned it in a previous episode. If I don't give you the plug for which to plug in your electric,
Yeah, if you don't amplify it. Yeah, if I don't become your amplifier, then you have nothing. You can't amplify it with me. You might go find somebody else to, right? And that's that person's choice. If they're not ready, see, this is about trying to evolve like mankind to be better than it is. Like that's what most spiritual teachers kind of are working towards. Like we're there's a better version of us
Yeah.
that we know is there, but we choose to follow a primitive, basic mentality thinking machine. Like we're using something that was made to make fire to survive. It runs our lives now. Like back in the day when caveman and primitive man was around, this was their thinking mind was used for food, shelter, survival. Now we've turned it into this, just arms and legs, and it controls everything of our lives, and we follow it religiously like you are, whatever you say goes. There's no questioning it.
Yeah, and there's the other aspect that, how do I say, things that provoke. So when you are in the car and God forbid you turn on the radio, something is going to provoke something, right? You listen
there's always a trigger. Yeah,
right?
trigger.
A
trigger.
provocation. And so in that case, newspapers, go ahead and read the news and tell me if you're not provoked, Go ahead and
That's why I don't read.
but you see what I'm saying?
I'll go online and I'll pick out article. I'll pick out something to read. But anything that has a provoking grabbing kind of title, I stay away from because there's nothing.
But you mentioned about spiritual teachers,
Yeah.
and about wanting to elevate basically our humankind. Just want to elevate it a little bit more,
Yeah.
so that you're a little more aware of your
Absolutely.
basic nature and your basic reactions to things. But it's almost like there's a whole bunch of, I can't find the word I'm looking for right now, but provocations is what comes to mind
Yeah.
around us that,
Things that'll trigger you.
right,
Yeah.
that will just even slickly, just,
Well, that's that's social media and
Work-
media in general.
there you go. There you go.
The purpose of media is to
there you go.
engage you.
That's perfect.
Like right, it's like the cookies on your computer that all of a sudden ads stop popping up. Hey, John, look here. Weren't you looking at mufflers for your car yesterday? Don't forget.
There. There,
To grab your attention.
That's what I'm talking about. Subliminal, or even above surface. So anything Facebook, Twitter, anything.
Any of that media, unfortunately, in today's day and age, maybe 30 years ago was different, but any of that media nowadays, unfortunately, puts people on the wrong path. It feeds that wrong wolf. It energizes that egoic mentality,
Yeah.
that thinking mind to kind of, grind their feet in and take a side and take a stance and take this and take that. And that's how wars start. So any war that's going on right now in the world, there's one person who believes that belongs to them and that should be theirs. Instead of realizing, like, a higher intelligence come in and go, we all live on this planet. Like, this is all our home. Like, I can't fathom how there are wars. I can't. And especially in this day and age. I'm not talking about, years ago when man was really primitive and I wanted that cave, I need that cave, or whatever. I'm talking, like, in today's day and age, as advanced as we are, how we're still, like, countries are still trying to attack each other and gain land. Like, it's almost like, have we not evolved at all? I think we're actually
Devolved.
we devolved. While we've evolved, that we're bigger and stronger than we were 50 years ago. Yeah, sure, we are.
We are the pushback.
Yeah,
To that devolution.
I think we've actually. I think if this is why there's this big push for this mindfulness, and awareness. That is, we need to make people aware of how they're thinking, how they're acting, how they how people hate your race, your gender, your this, your that, your religion, your belief, your color, your nationality. There's so much we've been taught to, be so divided.
Be divided,
Divide.
yeah.
We forget that in the essence of it all, we're all the same. We just take different forms. We're all the same. Like, to think what this planet could be, and that's what most spiritual teachers try to teach, to think what this planet could be, like to really a place where human beings can live in harmony. Like, it's there. Yes, it's an utopia, and I don't know if it ever happens or when it ever happens, but, like, we're trying to evolve human beings to, hey, listen, this thing in your head, use it as a tool. Not about being right or wrong, not about who's better or worse. Use it as a tool, and you can have fun with it, right? It's there. You can enjoy. Like, life could be super enjoyable. It really, really can. But yeah, well,
Scott Adams said that.
did he really?
He said,
I gotta look to Scott Adams.
yeah,
guy up.
he said, we all have an ego. He goes,
Absolutely.
the power comes when you know how to use it as a tool.
Yes.
And he said that, and I was like, interesting. At the moment, I was
use-
like,
when you know how to use it, when you know how to use it properly.
Right.
Sadhguru, he's an Indian, and I know we got to cut it. We got to cut in a second. Sadhguru he's an Indian spiritual teacher, very popular. He says, whether the ego is good or bad is not the question. It's whether you identify with it or not. So what he's trying to say there is, whether you think the ego is good or bad isn't the question. Like people say, oh, the ego's bad, the ego's good. The ego is a thinking mind. Do you identify with that mind?
Right.
Are you say, in other words, have you said, this is who I am?
I am this.
I am this. I
That's
am
it.
that. Or do you say, hey, my mind is giving me these ideas. I now get to use these ideas for the benefit of, my community, the people around me, and
Right.
mankind in general to make a better world? Or do I, go down these little rabbit holes that it has all over the place? So the ego is not a bad thing. It's if when you look at it, if you look at the ego as bad, that's just the ego coming back in and making you believe the ego is bad. Like, 'cause the ego is going to tell you good, bad. It's going to tell you superior, inferior. It's going to tell you you're the best, you're the worst. It does all of that. Do you want to identify with
so
it?
the key is don't let that be your identifier. So, if your ego is most of the time telling you something, you're not that. That's just your ego.
That's just your mind giving you, it's just a thought.
It's just a thought.
It's a different words for it. Ego, thought, mind stream. It's all the same. The ego isn't an entity. It's up in our minds. It's just a word that psychiatrists and people created years ago for this personality kind of, but it's at the end of the day, it's all still the same
Yeah.
mechanism
And just
that
know,
gives you all these thoughts.
just know you are not that.
No, you're not. You're actually,
But you can use it as a tool.
but you use a tool. And when you anchor in awareness and mindfulness, and when you have that presence to watch it, you see it as a tool. And now you start using the hammer to hit the nail,
Yeah.
not the hammer to cut the meat, not the hammer to start your car, because or else you're just blindly using this tool going pop, pop, hoping it works.
Or worse, the hammer to beat yourself over the head.
Yeah, or worse, hammer to beat yourself over the head because you're using the tool improperly.
Right.
Now, again, we're human. We all make mistakes. That's part of it. I'm not trying to say like you become this divine individual who doesn't make mistakes. No, I'm trying to say you have an awareness to understand how to navigate this thing between your ears that won't make you suffer. It's not going to pitch you into this horrible, you're the worst, or you're the best, or you're this, or you're that. And you kind of get to flow in and out as needed. As needed in your life in this moment, you get to use this tool
Yeah.
in the most beneficial way.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
Yes. Yeah, and no, drop the mic and drop it hard because I'm telling you, ever since we started doing this and previously, but ever since we started doing this specifically because this really anchors things down, a few times a month for us. My personal life is improved.
That's great.
And I'm not bullshitting you right now. My relationship with my wife, my kids, because again, they're the most, proximate to me. They're
Well, absolutely.
it's improved. It's improved. It's so, and again, that's the whole point of this, is you have some power, you have some choices.
It's
you have
improved
some-
because you start hearing each other, you start listening to each other, you start noticing each other, and it's not I'm not saying in your case, it could be even my case, my wife this, or my kids this, or my son's this, or my daughter's that, no. Now you see the person as not this predetermined identity you have in your mind, as a person, and you get to have more highly intelligent conversations with them because you're not trying to be right in every conversation. You don't need this need to be superior than them in every conversation.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately how we were kind of brought
Yeah,
up.
yeah. And
So-
and as I'm trying to catch my words here, I try to catch my words there.
It'll only make for a better relationship,
Yeah.
at home for anybody, not just you, me, anybody who's listening. Look at your partner, look at your wife, look at your kids, and whatever predetermined notion you have in your head about them, take a breath, take a second,
Yeah.
hear them, right? Don't just hear them, but listen. Like, do you ever listen to your partner when they're talking, or do you hear them and immediately on you hearing what they're saying, here comes a voice. Fuck you, or you're wrong, or I'm right, and how dare she say that? Is she out of her mind? Is he out of his mind? No, hear what they're saying, and you'll see you'll most likely, most times, be able to quickly come up with a much more intelligent response that's either going to disarm them if they're angry, or it's going to allow them to kind of connect with you on a different level now.
Mm. My God.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. I make the shit up as we go along.
Nah, man. That was great. That was great.
Whew.
I should start paying you.
Huh?
I should start paying you. You gotta start
Aw.
charging.
No, I do this for free because I love everybody.
That's great, man. Well,
I do it for the pure joy.
thank you, man.
Yep.
Once again, we did it.
Yeah, another episode
We're successful. We're victorious.
because we showed up.
We showed up.
So all you have to do to be, all you have to do to be successful, is show up. If you showed up for yourself, you're trying, you're working towards something better.
Damn right.
That's it. And if you do that and you constantly and you keep doing that,
Damn right.
you'll if you always show up for yourself, you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference.
and I'm proud of it. Damn it.
You should be. Everybody should be. Everybody who actually puts any of this stuff into practice should be proud of themselves. So, on that, we will wrap it up with a quiet 1 minute meditation to just kind of quiet meditation. You guys can do it by yourselves just to be able to digest everything we spoke about and recenter ourselves. So, enjoy the next minute of silence. All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Have yourselves a great night and a nice holiday weekend.
That's right.
And we'll catch everybody soon.
It's been great.
been
Feel
great.
refreshed. Thank you, everybody.
You got it,
Thank you,
guys.
John.
Be well. Bye-bye.